In this part of the case study, we're going to continue to work with some descriptive statistics. So we're going to do just a few more things with some of the descriptive statistics that we can find from this particular data set. So let's begin by looking at this quantitative variable, number of deaths. We'll look at a histogram and we'll look at some of the descriptive statistics such as the mean and the median and the quartiles. And then we'll focus on creating a scatter plot based on the number of deaths for a particular state versus the state's population. So let's begin by just looking at this particular column and summarizing it using a histogram. So to do that, remember, we'll go to Graphics, Histogram, and we want to summarize the number of deaths. And we're going to click Next because I'd like to change some of these options. Usually StatCrunch, remember, will create bins and bin widths on its own based on what it thinks is best. But what I want to do is start the bins at 0 and create a bin width of 10 so we can clearly see what this looks like. If we don't do this, it'll create very large bins and it'll be hard to see what the actual distribution looks like. So let's go ahead and click Create Graph, and we see that we have a very skewed looking distribution here, and you can see that between 0 and 10, since that's our bin width, we have the largest number of frequency of deaths, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller as we go out. Now let's take a look at some descriptive statistics involving that particular variable. So let's look at deaths, and we want to find the mean and the median and the quartiles, and I'm also going to select the IQR, and let's click Calculate. And now we can see on average the number of deaths is 32.26. Now this means, remember, we're counting number of deaths for specific causes of death in states with specific genders and so on. So this is the average number of deaths for any specific cause of death. And we have a standard deviation of 42.72 and so on, and our interquartile range is 20. So here are all our descriptive statistics, and again, you can use this in the histogram that we created as you've been following along to answer some of the questions in your case study assignment. So now let's take a look at a very rough scatter plot of the number of deaths versus the population size. So what we want to do is see if the population can help predict the number of deaths for any specific cause of death. So what might make a little bit more sense would be to sum up all the deaths for a particular state or a particular age group and just work with the population for that. But since that would be very difficult and time consuming for us to add up all these different populations, we'll just do a very crude scatter plot of what's going on here. So we're going to go to Graphics, Scatter Plot, and we want to see if the population will help predict the number of deaths for all these different types of causes of death. So we're going to go ahead and select population as the X variable and deaths as the Y variable. And we can go ahead and click Create Graph. And you can see here a very saturated scatter plot, so we have a lot going on. And it doesn't look like there might be much of a trend, maybe a little bit of an upward trend here, but as you can see, everything is kind of stuck here at the bottom, or most things are kind of stuck here at the bottom. So we may not get a good linear correlation here, and we'll discuss correlation a little bit further along in the course, but I did want to take a look at one scatter plot just to show you an example of what this might look like. Now you can go ahead and begin to work on your case study questions, and if you have any questions about this or any other part of the course, please let me know.